There we go. Very good.
All right. Good evening and welcome to the City of Sunbury Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. It is November 22nd, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Would you please join me in a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance? Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mayor St. John.
Here.
Mr. Gokenauer, absent. Mr. Lawrence, absent. Mr. Ryba.
Here.
Mr. Elliott.
Here.
Ms. Miller.
Yes.
All right. Good evening, guests and professionals. Thank you for being here with us this evening. We have 3 issues that we are planning on reviewing tonight. 2 related to Mormon Investments LLC with variance request and zoning code amendments. And I'd like to start with commission review of Mormon Investments LLC 720 Parkway variances. We have heard this twice now, if I'm not mistaken, and we tabled this from the October 22nd meeting. They're requesting variances as follows: paving full extent of loading area, landscape buffer, rear lot, and the building materials. And I would ask the applicant to see if they took our feedback and worked on it, what the changes were.
Mayor, it's a procedural matter. We should probably do a motion in the second to vote to untable this.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to untable variance request and a second by Mr. Ryba. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Ryba.
Yes.
Mr. Elliott.
Yes.
Ms. Miller.
Yes.
Mayor St. John.
Yes. Right.
I mean, do I need to recap the stuff we already went over?
Yeah, you don't need to recap what you, whenever I would highlight the changes that you've made or how you've accommodated the feedback of the commission.
Okay, so it seemed like the biggest issue last time when we met was the screening at the back of the property. So we've added a white vinyl fence at the back that is 6 foot high. That way, you know, there will be a permanent, reduce the visibility from the rear. Yeah, that way it's not something that the leaves fall off of.
Are there any other changes?
We talked to Mr. Parkinson about the street trees at the front, and those were under there's like, high tension lines there, and the conclusion we came to that was a potential maintenance issue with the power lines. So we took those off. And then we did add some landscaping in the front too, in front of the additions. Basically, we put landscaping to match what's in front of the existing units.
The fence that you added, did you submit those to our professionals? Did you give them any information that you had added that? I looked at the guide that you had provided and it didn't look like.
Yeah, I mean, I put a note on there that we're adding it. I didn't provide a drawing. Basically, the fence that we were proposing is something that would not have openings in it, right? So it basically would be vertical slats that are, butted up against each other. So it would be pretty much all opaque. And it would run the length of the back of the property. So it's right at the 5-foot landscape buffer. We had the discussions previously about the trucks coming and stuff. So we're
Any feedback for the applicant?
The fence will be maintained.
that was part of the reason for doing the vinyl, is so that it doesn't have to be painted and that, stays white.
Would probably turn green over time with mold, mildew. Okay, that's just what I want to make sure. So it's not an eyesore in the back, in the schools.
The paving, are we sticking with the gravel? Is that the
Applicants
asphalt?
still like to do the gravel.
Okay.
But, again, for the fact that the turning radiuses are tight, and Aaron, the civil engineer on our team, and then felt like that the wheels are going to be grinding, and because of how tight they have to pivot, and that there's a durability issue with the paving. So.
Any other feedback for the applicant? Do we have in Kintner Parkway, an agreement with one of the developers that put a building back in the area that they could do gravel for up to 3 years, but then needed to pave?
Yes, that was the Sinrock storage facility.
Couldn't the approval of this at face value, we're approving gravel at this point, give that developer some ground to stand on to say, why would we have to pave if Mr. Mormon didn't? That's a rhetorical question. I think the other thought is that we've maybe gone too far, that we've gone with the proposal, giving you some feedback the entire time. And it's kind of been like, how can you adjust and squeak it by? And I think the expression is maybe you're trying to do too much on the site, potentially, to the point where you can't meet our code. And we tried to work with you on this. And I get the reasons why you would not want to do the pavement in the back. I mean, you're turning around full-size semis, which will shred the asphalt in the back.
The same trucks are coming there now, though.
Right. But you're coming to us to ask to expand your building by twice the amount. And that's why we have these, because it gives us an opportunity to review. The code has changed since you put the building in. Around natural materials, we kind of gave you a pass on that because honestly, natural materials wouldn't make sense. It's an all steel building now. But we're holding other developers to our standard and to our code. And I honestly, I mean, I don't think it's gonna get us in trouble. I think it could potentially put us in legal risk or force our hand in the future where we have to say, you know what, we had an agreement from a developer to put pavement in. And this, you know, this developer, you just approved gravel only. Why would we have to do that?
Does it put us at risk legally?
That's the $1 million question, right?
Yeah.
Certainly, potentially anything could be, again, a legal issue or potential legal liability. There's a argument that public's not being treated equitably or fairly, then certainly that could potentially be potential grounds for somebody to assert a claim. 811121 does give you the ability to impose those conditions like you're discussing, Mr. Mayor. So that is a way you could address it with this applicant.
Right. And in layman's terms, I think what he's saying, we have the authority to deal with these on a case-by-case basis. What I think is it does is it creates unstable ground for us to move forward with other developers.
Well, isn't the reason why we're even discussing the possibility of gravel is because of the use? So instead of a time limit, could it be the condition be the use?
In other words, saying not to bring semis in the back.
No,
If they ever stop bringing someone in the back?
yeah,
Then-
whatever that business is, if,
Oh, is a conditional use versus a variance request?
mhm.
The variance request, if I'm not mistaken, stays with the property. The conditional use would be if the use changes.
Then it would have to be addressed again.
I know where you're going with this. But I just don't know. Vic, do you have any thoughts?
Restate the question again, if you would, please.
What if instead of the other condition, we allowed the gravel for a limited time period? Well, the reason we're even looking at gravel in this situation is because of the particular use. And so if we tied it to the use,
As opposed to the property?
because the only reason why we're considering it is the use.
If the property changed use for any reason, we would require it to be, then become asphalt.
Right. In the context of this variance application, however, I mean, that's not what's being requested. So we're considering the variance that's in front of you. And again, a condition could be imposed on that, such as the 3-year time period. But in terms of connecting it to the use, I don't see that as the way that you would deal with this in the context of tonight.
Would they ask, would the variance request change then? Would it be changed based on the usage of the facility to keep it gravel? Would that be the variance request?
Yeah, I'd have to look at that. I'd have to research it with respect to the code and to determine exactly, I think the best way to do that would be if, you know, how that would be done. So I don't know, right? Sitting here right now, I wouldn't be able to give an answer to that.
Any other feedback?
No, we vote on this on the, when the public portion is closed, correct?
We could take action on it right now. There's no public hearing.
I guess to your point is, I think we maybe need to do a little bit more research and understanding into applying for a variance based on the conditional use of the space as opposed to just kind of a blanket variance. I think the blanket variance is going to cause us probably some consternation with other public requirements that we've given in the past. So I'd say, I don't know, Dave, can we work?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, and see if we can get a variance based on conditional use as opposed to, tied to the property. Does that sound right?
Could we also approve it for a certain amount of time as well and then come back before zoning? So like 3 years for the other one, another 3 years, it had to go in front of zoning. And if it's a different use, we could obviously change it and require asphalt then, or pavement or cement, whatever.
I don't know. Is that how it works? I don't remember ever having a time where we've requested a developer to come back in after the building's operational and saying,
Well, I think what is being said, if I'm right, is grant within the time period. And so then the applicant will be required to, within that time period, to put down asphalt.
Not necessarily. I would say more of a review from zoning if the use has changed as a way around how we were originally looking at it.
I think that's a different variance request though, right? I think that's what we're trying to figure out. Is that a different request? Right?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So if it's a conditional use, does that affect the ability to sell the property or get a loan if that's only?
It could, sure. Certainly could. So that may affect whether or not you want to even apply that way.
Right. I mean, that's something that the owner would need to weigh.
where I've seen conditional uses is like on parking requirements. We know it's going to be a specific type of business. And you're like, okay, we're going to do a conditional use, or like, I'm trying to think. I think PJ's, we did a conditional use, something with like their outdoor seating and patio area.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Are you going to improve the building material?
Fencing?
No, you're talking about the steel building.
Steel building.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Are you going to improve the fence in the back?
I-
Probably. We haven't-
Probably,
I don't know yet.
We haven't discussed it.
Right.
Here's my situation. I can put that in blacktop in the back. It involves two things. It involves additional sewers to be put in. It also involves another $20,000 worth of asphalt. If I put the asphalt in, then all the trucks have to back in. Nobody can turn around. It's more difficult on the drivers. If I put all asphalt in, then I have to go to a bank and have to have everything done. So the bank says, yeah, we will lend you this money. When I find out how much the building costs, when I find out how much they fill in with the money, then I have to find out whether the rental will cover the loan. Right? So even though I would say we would asphalt that you approve everything, it doesn't mean I'm going to build a building. The more expensive it takes me to build a building, the higher the loan, the more rent I need. If I don't get the rent for the building, I do not close the building. That's my position. So you guys figure out what you want to do. If you are in a legal position, it says, if you think you're going to be in a legal position that says, and somebody comes out later and says, they got stone, why can't I have stone? And they're stuck in a hard place. I understand that, okay? I wouldn't want to be in that position either. But in my position, I can't build a building and get rent to cover it. I'm not going. This is the way it is.
Understood. Yeah, our position is, I'll say my position is, I don't want to set a precedent. We've set a precedent with curbing in the area. So now every person who wants to build in Kinder Parkway doesn't want to put curbs in. And that affects stormwater runoff. And now every single time somebody is like, it's too expensive to put curbs in. It's the same concept, except we have an example where we literally held a developer to get your business off the ground, get some revenue coming in, and then put the pavement in. Your situation is a little different. You already have a business there and you're looking to expand it twice the size, or more than it is today, and you're asking for 3 variances. And we're already saying the building material makes sense. I mean, that's an aesthetic thing. We don't want you to put brick on a steel building. It's not going to look right. And the screening, the high school is to your north. I drove back there. It's a little bit more dense than I thought, especially with leaves and stuff. But I think the pavement and the gravel is probably the sticking point.
Yeah, and mainly because of the previous.
Yeah, we have a kind of a, for lack of a better term, a deal with the developer that's in play, and we're getting ready to kind of say, you know what, we're gonna hold you to this standard, but
Everyone else.
All right, right now, I will ask to move these stone,
okay,
okay?
Yep.
And I'll just see how it plays out on my end, whether it works financially or not.
sounds good. Can we amend we're gonna amend the variance request to remove the
Gravel in the back.
paving full lot extent of loading area component of the variance request. I'd like to make with the applicant's permission, I'd like to make a motion to amend the variance request, sub-bullet 1, paving full extent of loading area to be removed. Second by Rick Ryba. Discussion. Roll call. All in favor?
Mr. Elliott?
Yeah, aye.
Yes.
Yes,
Mayor St. John?
Yes.
Mr. Ryder?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion on the amended variance request for Mormon LLC, 720 Kintner Parkway variance. This is a landscape buffer rear lot and building materials.
Second.
Second by Mr. Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Yes, Miller.
yes,
Mayor St. John?
Yes.
Mr. Ryder?
Yes.
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
All right, we have the commission review Mormon LLC, commercial and industrial site plan, building 720 Kintner Parkway. Applicant has submitted industrial site plan and building application to construct his expansion of his current building by 6,257 square feet. And I think we're ready to make a motion for approval, and I'll do that.
I'd like to speak to this one, I think.
Okay, do we want to get a second so we can have discussion, or do you want to leave my first hanging out there?
I'll second.
We got a second by Greg Elliott. Discussion. Mr. Parkinson?
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant submitted revised plans for the civil work. Those revised plans adjusted the grading in the rear to capture most of the stormwater, which is what we had asked them to do. It shows the fence, which was a request to add additional screening at the rear. It does still show the gravel, so any approval that this commission might consider tonight should be contingent upon engineering review and approval of the revised plans in accordance with the variances granted this evening.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'd like to amend my motion for an industrial site plan and building application pending full engineering review and approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ryba. Discussion? Roll call.
Mayor St. John?
Yes.
Mr. Ryder?
Yes.
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, gentlemen.
So,
Thanks for your time, too.
Thank you very
So-
much, Mr. Mormon.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, before you leave, Mr. Mormon. So what's happened here is that the commission has recommended to council approval of your major site plan. And so it will go to council at the next regularly scheduled meeting of council, which I believe is December 1st.
Yeah.
So it'll have a first reading at council on December 1st. Typically, they do 3 readings and then approve it. And I think that fits with your schedule, with your intent to start a little later.
No idea when I'll start.
Okay. So if you're not ready to start now, it'll probably go through the 3 reading stage, just so you know. So if you could have your engineer address the comments that were discussed tonight and get me revised plans before the meeting on December 1st, then I can go to council meeting and let them know that I've received the revised plans and we've given them some review.
Just answer my question. advance. Yeah, we will try to get that done.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Aaron has COVID. That's why he's not here, because he's in quarantine, so.
Of course he does. No, that's fine. I wish the best for him. It's not a laughing matter.
You can email those plans to
Yeah.
Mr. Vargas.
What else does he have to do, right? Yeah.
No, he's working. I'm just saying he like didn't want to come here and then potentially.
We appreciate that.
Good thing this isn't being streamed to 40,000 people. We wish him well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're on to zoning code amendments. There was a last minute revision, I believe, around the structuring of how the zoning board operates. I think it incorporates some of our charter components. Sorry, go. Dave, sorry. I don't know that we need to take action, but the informal presentation by Highland Realty is not happening tonight. That was the next item on the agenda they pulled. We're on to zoning code amendments. Could you take us through the timeline of what we wish to do here? It sounds like there's a method to the process, and maybe with the finish line, these getting implemented sometime in February, a couple of public hearings in between. Okay. Steve?
Sure. The process will start when you have a motion to accept these. Then we need to publish and hold a public hearing within the planning commission within no less than 20 days. So it'd be at your next meeting, depending on, if you follow a schedule. Public hearing, then a full vote. We'll have a final for you. And then it goes on to council. They have a no less than 30 days type of time frame to consider the amended zoning ordinance. They also have a public hearing and then probably 2 or 3 readings would be my guess.
If there's any changes by council, what happens? Is it just change at that end, or does it have to come back here?
I think it's a super majority at that.
Sounds right. That sounds right.
And since council's down a couple members in January,
Who would have put that in charter?
I don't imagine we're going to get much pushback. Here's the highlights of those zoning code changes. We're cleaning up a lot of stuff that needed cleaned up. We're making it simpler to interpret. We're adding multi-use trails to every single zoning district.
We're defining a lot of specifics that were kind of undefined.
It should make it easier to operate. And there's no transformative. We're adding planned mixed use district. We're not bringing in Planet Oasis or anything. Right.
To answer your question, Rick, it's 3/4 of council to modify the recommendation. So I guess even more than a supermajority, which would be 2/3. So yeah.
I did have one question. It's a combo question. I was reading that in the ordinance, and there was 2 areas that we weren't consistent, and I didn't know if we just missed something or if we were purposely just changing one area. The 2 consistency was on the 2-bedroom and each additional bedroom. In just one area, we changed the numbers, but we left all the other numbers the same.
Section.
This one of the first.
Is that the bedroom size?
Yeah, it was
Or
the
unit size?
planned, yeah,
Just looking at your notes and see.
yeah. It was the second and each additional bedroom after that. There was only one that changed it from 1,020 changed it to 1,050, and each went up to 200, but we only did it in one area. It was on page 88. That was the only place we changed it. So I didn't know if that's the only place we meant, or if we meant it to be in every area.
No, I think that was me, and I don't think from what we've seen coming in, I don't even think we changed it. I think we keep with what we had, because everything we're seeing is coming smaller anyways.
Yeah,
I mean, we probably could even shrink it
Yeah.
from what we have.
we didn't make any substantial, so if we could just make that not a change. And then on page 3 of the ordinance, we changed all the others to no maximum fee, but the final plat zoning fee, we changed the number to 16,000. So we kept a maximum fee. I just didn't, for consistency, I just didn't know which way we were going.
So what we did on the fees was it for, I actually think the original ordinance was backwards. The original ordinance put maximum fees for engineering review, and they had no maximum fees for zoning administrative costs. And I think that was meant to be the other way around. From your perspective, for zoning administrative costs, you really don't care if it's 100 lots or 400 lots. You have to do the exact same thing when you do it. But for me, it's 4 times as much work. Like the revisions here place no maximum fees on engineering reviews, because as the lots are added and added and added, the review requirements go up and up and up, which translates to fees. But from an administrative standpoint, we placed a fee, a maximum fee on the submittal package, and pretty substantial at that, a $16,000 fee for administrative fee for zoning or plats. That's a pretty big number. But that represents the fact that once you get to some point, you really don't have any more work you need to do on behalf of that plat. So that was what we attempted to do here.
I just wanted to make sure we were doing what we wanted, and because they were not consistent.
Well, it is consistent. It's consistent between engineering and it's consistent between administrative. Now, it's not the same for engineering, and it's not the same as it is for administrative, but it should be consistent within administrative fees and consistent within engineering fees.
I understand that. Our next change, we're gonna call out, we're gonna group them together, the administrative fees and engineering, because I think it goes like every other here. Yeah, it's a good call out.
I was just trying to make sure we were consistent
Thank you.
throughout.
There's a lot in here. It's amazing that you all got through as much as you did. So good for you.
I agree.
Can't say I read every word,
Oh, please do. Please do.
but thank you.
Good deal. With that said, would anybody like to make a motion for approving the zoning changes?
I'll make that motion.
We got a motion by Greg Elliott.
With what we discussed tonight with that change in the,
Bedrooms.
yes,
Bedroom size.
yes, I think,
Are you clear on that? Anybody?
I think you have to have a public hearing before you can vote on it.
Yeah, this is.
Okay, we're making a motion of
You
support
need
to do a public
schedule-
hearing.
You need to schedule a public hearing.
That's what I
The public
was,
hearing is
yeah.
at the next meeting, right? I thought that's what I heard Steve say.
It has to be 20 days out at least. So whenever your public meeting is dictates whether it can be at your next meeting.
so do we need to do an approval to have the public meeting? I guess is the question. Or we just say we're gonna have a public meeting?
You need to pick a date for your public hearing. Now, you can pick
Steve picked it for us.
any day and
12/20.
then change your next meeting date to match the public hearing day if that's what you intend to do.
Good at our next meeting, which is 12/20.
That's 12/27.
Oh, 20,
I don't have my calendar up, but
Fourth?
it's the week of
week after Christmas.
after Christmas.
Yeah, the 4th. Sorry, it is the 27th.
And so the question is, do you intend to come and hold a meeting on the week between Christmas and New
Does it
Year.
feel like we're trying to, I mean, I'd be here, I'm dedicated, but would it feel like we're trying to?
I just need to go back to the email. Steve, you sent out a very detailed email with a timeline, and or not a timeline, but an order of operations. Step one was by adoption of a motion by the Sunbury Planning and Zoning Commission at the 11/22 meeting. That's today. That's the script I was following, the approval. Are we still approving, this to go forward to a public hearing? Initiation of zoning amendments.
That motion initiates the amendments and then it follows to the public hearing piece. You're not actually approving them, you're making an emotion of adoption of a motion by the Planning and Zoning Commission
To schedule a meeting.
to schedule.
Initiation of zoning amendments, rezoning. That's what I'm making a motion for.
Yes.
Okay, I've made it.
Second.
Second by Rick Rabba.
Okay.
Should we see if we're gonna have a quorum?
The 27th,
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
I will not be here.
But we need either Mr. Lawrence or Mr. Gokenhour to be here.
Did you hear from these guys? Were they not supposed to be here soon?
I saw Mr. Gokenhour last week and he asked about materials, so I thought he was gonna be here. And then I had a conversation with Mr. Lawrence about where to deliver his package. I did not see an email today from either one that they would not be here.
It's, the timeline is no sooner than 20 days and no later than 60 days. So if we can get the January meeting within that timeframe, you would be able to do that.
Well, you have, and I'm going to state the obvious, and my apologies to you for this. You have options. You can hold it on the 27th. You can accelerate it a week and hold it on the 20th. Okay, and that would still be 20 days, greater than 20 days after today. So you would be allowed to hold your meeting on the 20th and hold your public hearing on the 20th. You could push the meeting back a week and have it on January 3rd. And then you could push the January meeting a week, and there's 5 Mondays in January. So that next Monday, that next meeting would actually be 4 weeks after the December meeting that you hold on January 3rd. So that's another schedule you could have. And that still all fits within the timelines prescribed by code. The downside to moving your meeting up to the 20th is it pushes deadlines for submissions of materials to be heard at that meeting up a week. And that could catch people by surprise if there was someone that anticipated being here on the 27th, and now suddenly tomorrow or next week even, they find out, oh, it's not the 27th, it's the 20th. I don't have time to get my application in. So that's the slight risk. And I don't know if there's anybody out there waiting to do that. That may not really be a risk. There may not be anybody in that category that would be harmed, if you will, in quotes, or inconvenienced by the fact that we accelerated the meeting. But those are your options available to you as you consider when you might want to have your next meeting.
I prefer not to move it up. We're going to do it. Let's go to January 24th, the regularly scheduled meeting.
You're going to cancel December altogether?
Well, we're gonna cancel.
Yeah, 27th is the meeting, and we've got 3. We just need to verify that one of these guys are going to be here
We
too.
just won't have the public hearing portion
Oh, okay.
of the meeting on the 27th, correct?
Is that how you want to do it, Steve?
Yeah, I think we got
Because don't we have
60 days.
Romanelli coming
December,
in December?
January, yeah, that might be over.
They said they'd be back. I don't know that
They
they'll
might
be
not
back.
be.
This is the 22nd.
Close.
Today's the 22nd, so
Be the 23rd of January, right?
it'd be the 21st, because we have 30
It's
days
the
in
20th.
November, 41 in December. So it has to be honored before the 21st of January.
Our meeting would be scheduled for the 24th.
January would be, the 24th.
So then do it.
So
Okay,
one,
so let's keep it December 27th, and we'll confirm with Joe and John that they're here. It's rare we're gonna have 6 people here, it seems like.
Or you could just wait to take action until the 27th and set the meeting for the 25th of January then. If that's.
May not be able to even, I mean, are we in a huge rush to get this out? Let me ask that.
Not a huge rush. I'm just a
We may not even
checklist
have
guy.
a quorum, huh?
I'm just a checklist guy.
Yeah, we just may not even have a quorum on the 27th. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, let me know if we're not gonna have a quorum on the day. I'll plan on being here. I guess what I was gonna say is the 27th. We know 3 of us are available and we just need 1 more. I mean, this is a fluke that we had 2 people not show up on the same night. Is it any inconvenience to do a public hearing on that night? Other than it's right between a couple holidays?
I'm fine with it.
Okay,
So first thing you're gonna get a cry from the public about.
okay. Let's try to do it on the 27th, and if we need to cancel the public hearing, then we'll do it. But then we'll need to have a special meeting before our next January meeting.
Yep. So then the motion to adopt and move to a public hearing, we need to make, right?
Right.
You wanna make that motion?
Yeah, I think it's already made.
Oh, do we need a second then?
We got a
Do we need
second.
a vote?
We need a vote.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
Yes.
going in reverse order, Mr. Ryba,
Yes.
Mayor St. John.
Yes.
Hearing date will be 12/27. I will confirm with that.
Okay, great. All right, we're on the visitor section. Does anybody like to speak? Anybody might like to speak this evening?
Gideon?
All right, we did have a meeting last month. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
To approve the minutes.
Got a motion over here and I think
I'll second.
second, motion by Mr. Ryba, second by Greg Elliott. Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor St. John.
Yes.
Mr. Ryba,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
Yes.
Ms. Miller.
Yes.
Good deal. Thank you. Steve did submit a zoning report. I read through it. Anything you want to highlight, Steve?
No, other than I was saying, I was doing my weekly drive around to get signs, and Friday on my way out of town, I noticed it must have been the rainfall or something, cropped up a whole bunch new ones. So tomorrow or the next, before Thanksgiving, I'll get out and collect the coin operated laundry and some other signs that seem to have cropped up at the major intersections in town. And we're probably not going to hit 2019, but we certainly exceeded new housing starts compared to last year.
Anything else, Steve?
Sir.
Next meeting date? Excuse me. Any discussion or new business? Mr. Elliott?
Me.
Mrs. Miller?
Nothing for me.
Mr. Ryder? No. None from me. Anything from Mr. Parkinson, Mr. Whitney, or Mr. Piles? All right, thank you very much. Next meeting, December 27, 2021. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Ryba,
Second?
second by Mr. Elliott. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Ryder,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Yes.
adjourned at 7:18 PM.